All right, welcome everyone. Today, we're diving deep into the 8th Parah of the Holy Quran, and we're using the amazing book Khulasatul Quran to guide us. You know, this part of the Quran is just packed with wisdom that gets to the very core of what it means to be a believer. So let's just jump right in. So here's what we've got lined up. We'll start with a quick intro to the big ideas in Parah 8. Then, we'll get into the super important concept of Tawheed. And then, get this, 10 principles for how to live your life. After that, we'll look at the classic story of Adam and Iblis, talk about what our deeds actually mean, and then wrap it all up by figuring out our ultimate purpose in life. It's gonna be great. You know, Parah 8 gets right to the heart of the biggest questions we all have, right? Like, who made us? Why are we even here? And is there a clear path to follow to live a good life? It's really like a blueprint, a guide for navigating this whole thing we call existence. So let's just start there, with that huge question that I think everyone asks at some point. What's it all about? What is the core message of my existence? The beautiful thing is, this parah doesn't leave us hanging. It gives us some really clear, solid answers. And that answer, well, it all starts with our first big topic, Tawheed, the absolute, undeniable oneness of Allah. And look, this isn't just another item on a checklist of beliefs. No way. This is the foundation. Everything else in our faith is built right on top of this one single powerful idea. Okay, so this really shows the massive difference the Qur'an is talking about. It's night and day. On one side, you've got pure divine guidance. The idea is simple. Every single blessing, the food we eat, the animals, everything, it all comes from Allah and Allah alone. But then you look at the other side. That's the path of shirk, of associating partners with God. And what does that look like in practice? Well, it's taking those same blessings and assigning parts of them to idols or other made-up deities. It's a total detour from the truth. And the Quran isn't just talking about abstract ideas here. It gets really specific and calls out these super harmful customs that were just based on, well, ignorance. Things like dedicating certain animals to idols, or making up rules about which animals you can't use just based on superstition. It even tackles the horrific practice of sacrificing children. And it calls out the sheer arrogance of just inventing prohibitions and then saying, oh, God said so. See, this is the key takeaway. Tawheed isn't just a belief, it's a liberation. It frees people from these completely baseless and destructive superstitions. So once that foundation of Tawheed is solid, the Quran builds on it. It gives us this incredibly practical, really powerful moral code. In Surah Al-An'am, we get 10 core principles that are basically a complete guide for how to live a just and ethical life. And here they are, laid out so clearly. It all kicks off with the most important one. Worship Allah alone. Simple. From there, it flows right into how we treat each other. Our social duties. Be good to your parents, protect life, don't harm your children or anyone else unjustly, stay away from shameful deeds, whether you do them in public or in secret. And then it hammers home the point of justice. Be just in everything, how you talk, how you do business, and especially how you protect the property of the most vulnerable, like orphans. And finally, it all gets tied together. Fulfill your promise, your covenant with Allah, and stick to His straight path. I mean, this is a timeless, universal blueprint for a good society, isn't it? Okay, so we've gone from the foundation of faith to the laws for life. Now, the Quran shifts gears and gets really personal. It takes us right back to the beginning of the human story, the story of Adam and Iblis. And this isn't just some ancient tale. It's a story that explains that constant struggle we all feel inside. So let's just quickly walk through how it happened. It starts with Allah creating the first human, Adam. Then an order is given to the angels to prostrate. Now, it's super important to know this wasn't an act of worship to Adam, but a sign of respect for him as this new creation. And everyone obeys, except for one, Iblis. And why did he refuse? It wasn't some deep philosophical reason. It was pure, simple arrogance and pride. And right there, in that moment, the stage was set for the eternal test for all of us, the choice between humility and obedience, or pride and rebellion. Right after this story, the Quran gives us this beautiful and really deep metaphor. So after Adam and Eve slipped up, their first instinct was to find physical clothing to cover themselves. But Allah uses this moment to teach us something way more important. He says, yes, physical clothes are necessary, but the real clothing, the best clothing, is the clothing of righteousness. That's our inner piety, our God consciousness. We call it taqwa, and that, the Quran says, is the most beautiful and important thing a person can ever wear. So all these choices we make every day, that choice between obedience and arrogance, between wearing that clothing of taqwa or just being careless. None of it is for nothing. Every choice has a consequence. And that brings us to a really crucial topic, our accountability on the Day of Judgment. And at the center of that day is this concept of the mizan, the scales. Now, don't think of this as just a symbol. The Qur'an describes it as a real, physical scale, and it is perfectly, absolutely just. It's going to weigh every single thing we ever did, the good, the bad, the big, the small. Nothing gets missed. It is the very definition of divine justice. But here's where it gets amazing. Right alongside that perfect justice is an ocean of mercy. Just get your head around this. The Quran says that if you do just one good deed, you'll be rewarded for it as if you did it at least 10 times. 10 times! But if you do a bad deed, you're only held accountable for that one single act. I mean, what does that tell you about the incredible generosity and overwhelming mercy of our Creator? It's just, wow. Okay, so let's tie this all together. We start with Tawheed, the foundation. We live by those 10 divine principles. We learn the lessons from the story of Adam. We know that we're going to be held accountable for everything. So where does all of this lead? What's the final destination? It all points to the very purpose of our existence, to live in a state of complete, peaceful, and willing submission. And honestly, this one verse just says it all. It wraps up everything we've been talking about. It's the ultimate mission statement for a believer. Say, "Indeed, my prayer, my rites of sacrifice, my living and my dying are for Allah, Lord of the worlds." Think about that. It means my prayer isn't just a 5-minute ritual. My sacrifices aren't just for show. My entire life, every single moment, and even my death, all of it, every last bit is for Allah, and Allah alone. And that really leaves us with a question we have to ask ourselves, doesn't it? A really powerful one. When I look at my own life, my job, my family, my hobbies, my worship, can I honestly, truly say that all of it is for my Creator? It's something to really think about. This journey through Parah 8 was prepared by the Ummah 360 team, and it's all based on the fantastic book Khulasatul Qur'an by Maulana Muhammad Ilyas Kuman. If you want to keep learning and find more content just like this, please go and search for Ummah 360 on the Play Store or the App Store. We'd love to see you there. Thanks so much for joining us.